today. Thanks on sales, celebrities will plunge into an ice bath to raise money. Rebecca Danaher says today was tough because her dad is losing his ability.
Well, good day everyone, it's Thursday, it's after a busy day's work, and I've got a nice, what looks like to be a bucket of tea on the go. But I've finished the second build in the friction folder series. So what I want to do now is have a closer look at it. So like I did last time on this build, for a bit of fun, I'm just going to score it out of 40. 4 different criteria, 10 points up for grabs on each criteria. So straight in with the design. I don't think it looks quite as interesting as this one. I can't help but compare it seeing as I've got one build. This one here is got a lot more interest going on in it. Scales finish here, the pivot area here has got this jeweling on it, and it's an overall much better looking knife in my opinion. This one on the other hand is a lot more clunky looking, it's not quite as free flowing. It's got this squarish look to the front here, which now I think about it, I could have put a 45-degree angle on here going all the way around on both sides, and I think it would have looked a lot better, a lot finer, but it wasn't part of the design and I'm not doing it afterwards. So I think what I do is learn from it and see if I can do it properly next time, or better next time I should say. One of the best things this knife's got going for it is the shape of the blade. It's got an interesting double scallop in it, I suppose you can call it. It's got this sabre grind, I suppose it is, with this micro bevel that actually is quite big, and I may well address that a bit later on. There's a reason why I did it, but it's a little too big for my liking. The all timber construction is very nice, very light, and it's a very nice feel to it. It's a very tactile kind of thing, but this timber, which has only been sanded to 2000 grit and then waxed and buffed. That's all this is. There's no other protector in it, but the wax has been warmed up and then hopefully has played its part in seeping into the timber for protection. These pins were made of some kind of hardwood, and as much as I tried to polish them down, I tried to get them to pop and stand right out. And by the way, this is Jarrah. I've got some old floorboards that I'm trying to use up. They're very, very dry and old. They were under the house probably for 50 years. I think I deserve 6 out of 10 for that. I think I could have done a lot better. So 6 out of 10 it is. Now then, functionality. The main thing is, does it cut? Yes, it cuts. A knife must cut, right? So yeah, that's great. Can you open and close it with one hand? It's one of the things I judge it by, and yes, you can. Not too bad. Works pretty well. It doesn't drop when you've got it open, or likewise, it doesn't drop when you've got it closed. So from that point of view, the pivot has been nicely set. At the moment, I'm using this pouch here, and it really is too small. Look, it goes into that far. But the interesting thing is, I can close this, and that's sticking up there, but I don't think it's a problem. I think it's not bad. If you had that on your belt, I think it'd look all right. It will definitely not come out, obviously, and comes out of the pouch really nice and easy, so, you know, not bad. So yeah, from a functionality point of view, I think I deserve 8 out of 10 for that. Why not? nobody else is going to give me points, are they? So moving on from here, the build quality. Now this is a bit more interesting, a bit more to talk about. The first thing I should talk about is the blade. The blade has got two small things that I don't like in there, but it's one of the best blades that I've ever ground. You'll notice here that the flats is a surface grinder finish. I could have taken it to a finer grit, but I like this, so I left it that way. The grind itself, the bevel, is not perfect, but it's very close to it. The micro bevel on there, or I should say secondary bevel, is a little bit wide, but it's not too bad, and I've done it for a reason I'll talk about in just a sec. But the two worst things about this, if I show you here, it doesn't look like it's even. It looks like it's all cattywampus and gone off the side there. Now the reason it's like that is because my grinds are not quite even. If I can show you here where the grind terminates at the top here, there we go, where the grind terminates at the top here, finishes there. If I was to draw a line across here, now I can show you that this just dips away a little bit. I didn't take enough care over it, therefore the grind doesn't look even, so when you shut it, it looks like it's off center. The actual blade is central, it opens and closes nice and central, and when I look down it, it is perfectly straight. There's no issue with that, and the blade is not bent. So that's a flaw in it that I wouldn't do if I were trying to market these knives or sell them in any way. The second thing is the bevels. This one here is what I regard as being almost perfect. It's got a slightly rounded look about it, which I like, but on this side it's just ever so slightly square. And I did the same thing on this one, and once again I didn't quite pay enough attention to it to correct it, so that's something I've got to look for in the next knife I build. Now this secondary bevel, I tried it on this one to a greater degree, but I left the blade a wee bit thick before I started grinding the secondary bevel on there. And I wanted to see what kind of finish I would get. Could I get a mirror finish on there? Now it's close to it, but if you look very closely you can see a few fine scratches on there, which is from the grits that I was working up from. And the other thing is, puts in such a fine edge really, that I'm not sure how long it'd last if you use this knife a lot. The all timber construction could compromise it a little bit. Maybe its strength won't be quite as good, like if I dropped it or tried to sort of slightly lever something with it. The pin, I didn't put this in there soon enough. I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to get it right when I put the whole thing together. But I should have done that, because when I come to sanding this down, I did put it on the surface grinder. That meant I had to sand this separately afterwards, and it was quite a lot of work. The pivot holes, not that neat. I had to recess them in there quite a bit because I didn't have pivots wide enough. And I'll get these from Gamaco in the eastern states. I can't exactly go down the road and get some wider pivot pins, but the holes I drilled were a lot neater on one side than the other. It's just, I don't know, I think it was wobbled in the drill. So overall, the build quality isn't too bad at all. It feels great, it works great, and very usable knife. So I do think that I deserve at least a 6 out of 10. I'm going to keep it to 6 because I think the handle could have been a bit better. Alright, so the very final thing is, do I like it? Would I carry it around? Would I keep it in my pocket? Would I use it every day or, regularly? And the answer is yes. I've got so many knives, I don't know when I'd get around to actually carrying it and using it, but I definitely would. I keep coming back to this aspect of this though, that I do wish I'd have put a 45-degree bevel on it. It would make it feel a lot nicer, and I think I would even use it a bit more often if that was the case. But I am pleased with the build. I think it's interesting enough, very light, and that works in its favour. So for that, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. So with 6, 8, 6 and 7, that gives me a total of 27 out of 40. And I've got something very interesting coming up on the next build. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell, because it's going to be very interesting if you're even remotely interested in knives. And somber, it might be just the one for you. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and from out here in sunny Western Australia, we'll see you again soon.